Get your GameFace on. Get your GameFace on.
G'day and welcome to another big edition of the GameFace SFNL Division 1 footy show. Will Hunter's my name, and joining me as he always does, Ben Lockwood. Mate, what a massive weekend of footy.
Yeah, huge, Will. Huge weekend of footy. Draw for the first time this year. Plenty of close games and good results. So, yeah, keeps the season alive, which is fantastic.
That's exactly what we want to see. And let's rip into a couple of top stories. Obviously, as Lock has mentioned, there was a great draw. We'll dissect that game. What an absolute cracker that was. St Paul's, they poured in an absolute thriller, but comes at a bit of a cost for the Colts. And Lockers and I, we take a little bit of a look at the run home and predict the final ladder, which should get a few of you guys talking there on social media. We'll see how close we get at the end of the year. But before we rip into all that, let's go to a GameFace app update, thanks to Swiv's Locker. G'day guys, well it was another cracking weekend of SFNL footy with plenty of interesting results across all four divisions. Let's take a look at some of the action with this week's GameFace app update thanks to Swiv's Locker. In Division 1, and the big result was a dramatic draw between Premiership contenders East Malvern and Dingley down at the Zoo. The Dingoes played some exhilarating footy and led by 14 points at the final change, but a 55-metre snap from Panther Ben Timms fortuitously clean bowled several players and bounced through the big sticks to tie the scores with 26 seconds remaining. What a cracking finish down there. Oakley District booted 7 opening quarter goals, but it wasn't enough as St Kilda City came home with a wet sail to win by 16 points down at Princess Highway. Meanwhile, over at the Kennel, Jimmy Zilla put on an absolute clinic. He booted 5 goals to lead the Doggies to a nail-biting win over the Colts. In other results, Cheltenham were too good for Morty Alec, and Bentley got the Chockies over Hyatt. In the Magoos, and Morty pipped the Rosellas in a thriller, while unfortunately it wasn't the way that Hyatt veteran Lockie McLean wanted to celebrate his 350th. The Demons far too good at Turner Road. The districts, St Paul's and East Malvern round out the winners list. Cheltenham remains out in front on the senior ladder, percentage ahead of St Paul's as you can see, while the draw makes for an interesting race between the Panthers and the Dingoes for the double chance. Bentley jumps from 7th to 5th after their win, while Port Moresby and City remain in the hunt for finals. Bentley retains top spot in the twos, percentage ahead of the Panthers, but the finals race looks like it'll go down to the wire there. Now remember guys, there's plenty more to see on the GameFace Record app, including all the live scores, latest news headlines, footy shows, goal kickers, and of course a weekly top 10 player rankings, which is always a hot topic of conversation. All divisions of footy and netball are covered, so make sure you download the GameFace Record app for free from the App Store, Google Play. Get your GameFace on. Oh yes, lovely work there, Wilbur. Robbo's not here to say it, so I may as well do it.
Well done, Will. Yeah, always got to support yourself, support your own company.
That's
well
it.
Done.
Speaking of Robbo, ran around in the thirds on the weekend, I believe, and took pride in saying he kicked 2 goals from 2 kicks.
It's probably a little fall from grace going from AFL down to Division 8 Southern thirds. But anyway, 2 goals, 2 kicks, can't do much more than that.
And kicked the winning goal in a grand final just a couple of years ago in between, which is a great moment in his career.
Unreal.
But, of course, in the thirds, come on, man. Better than that. Righto, East Malvern and Dingley, the two sides that played out a thrilling draw, 7-11-53 apiece. Could not be split at the final siren.
No, absolute thriller. Checking it up on the app throughout the day, they were 13 points down. It looked like the actual scores had frozen and it was game over. I received a text message from the president of East Malvern just with one word, draw. So
wow. Went
back, had a look at the video. Ben Timms' miracle goal with about 25 seconds to go went from about 70 metres out. Shane Warne would have been happy with the break of the ball and bounced through. Apparently great game, hotly contested all day. Yep. So I think Dingley boys probably a little bit disappointed because they played really, really good footy. Just last couple of minutes let a close one slip. Yep. But I suppose it's a 0-0 draw in soccer, isn't it? We just continue on next week for both of them. So, yeah, it shows that Dingley aren't far off and East Malvern, as I think you've predicted, Will, are there and thereabouts.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it was a pretty lucky escape from them. I know Morph was pretty happy with the way that his boys played. Disappointed, obviously, to lose it in the end. And in such a circumstance, I mean, we could give Timsy another 100 cracks at that and he won't ever kick another one like that. But obviously, well done to East Malvern for managing to secure those 2 points. And massive ramifications now for the finals race because you've got those two sides. The winner of that would probably go above the other in terms of who gets that double chance with obviously Cheltenham and St Paul's right up there as well. So what does that mean? We'll find out when we go through the ladder, I guess.
Absolutely, Will. We will indeed.
And of course, St Paul's and Port Colts, they played out an absolute nail-biter there at the Kennel. Low-scoring game. I think there was only about 5 points in it at the end of the game. But the big news, of course, was a report. Matt Dallabera was reported for striking Jack Hayes, and on Tuesday night received a 4-match suspension from the SFNL tribunal, which that's a massive blow for the Colts.
It's a huge blow. Actually, looking at the first quarter of that game, won't talk about the incident as such because it's it is what it is.
Yep.
But the big fella, Jesse Bowe, actually took about 3 or 4 marks inside 50 early with their setup. They started him deep forward, the big fella, Della Labea in the ruck. So it actually looked like it was working for them. So yeah, they'll have to change the way they do things for the next 4 weeks, try and hang in there. Their draws up and down. They've got a couple of easy ones, a couple of hard ones, maybe, but there's no easy game in Division 1 as we know this year. So, yeah, it could have massive consequences for Port Colts aim to play finals. And another big story was the coach had a run around, Lindsay Gilby.
Did it right as well too, from what I'm told, in the long sleeve jumper.
Looked good. Number 85, I think he wore, which is that's a big number, isn't it, to carry on your back?
Kremborg does that with distinction. Number 88, of course, for St Paul's. But yeah, Jesse Bowe's been a big pickup, and I say big figuratively and literally. He's is huge. An enormous unit. So very fortuitous that they have him running around in the side. He can sort of slide into that role. But of course, their next 4 weeks, I've got Oakley this week, Cheltenham, which is, you know, dare I say, probably going to lose that anyway. They're a very, very good side. Cheltenham, Height, and then Bentley. So the draw's been a little bit kind to them, I guess, so it sort of lessens the blow, but he'll be a massive loss, Dale Libera, but he comes back in time for round 18, which will be huge.
Yep, as we know though, no easy games in Division 1 this year, so yeah, as much as you'd say Oakley and Hyde on paper they win, but both of those sides have been competitive most of the year, so yeah, it's not a lay down was there. Yep. They'll have to bring their A game for both those games.
There's been very, very few blowouts actually, come to think of it, in this season, which has been absolutely tremendous. And of course the MRP, I'd like to just quickly touch on that. It's been a bit of a trend in the game, which has been led by the AFL, and there's been a bit of conjecture and talk around the new SFNL MRP. But of course the edict led by the AFL has been to remove the sling tackles and to really protect the players' heads. And we've seen that being at AFL level, a massive edict from them to protect the players.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you don't want players getting injured. The only thing, we've got to be a little bit careful with this sling tackle stuff, in that AFL guys, and speaking to someone like Liam Sumner who's been in the system recently, they spend hours upon hours upon hours during the pre-season learning, you know, through wrestling coaches and so on. So It is an art. We were taught, you know, growing up, when you tackle as hard as you can to bring the player to ground. So it's a shift in the rules, no doubt. So it does take, at this level, a bit of time for the players to adjust. So yeah, again, but if someone does get injured from a sling tackle, because there is that two motion, absolutely, they they probably should be reported and so on like that. So I think it will settle down and we'll get the natural spot that it should be at local footy. But at this stage, there's probably a few teething issues with it.
Yeah, perhaps, but their heart's in the right place, obviously, and they're obviously looking for, you know, when you pin the arms and dump the player, they haven't got a chance to protect themselves. And of course, the second action, when you grab the player and then in a second motion, throw him to the ground, which we've seen in the AFL, they've cracked down on it heavily.
It's about that second motion, no doubt. Second motion with arms pinned. So yeah, absolutely, you've got to protect the players, no doubt. But yeah, it'll find its way. The only thing I've ever said about the MRP, Will, as you know, is that I don't like clubs dobbing other clubs in on a Sunday over those sort of touchwood issues. If it's a severe or a really bad issue off the ball, or it's a clear elbow or a fight or something like that, yeah, I get that. But if these touchwood things, we don't want clubs having an impact, especially leading into finals, trying to rub opposition players out.
Oh, 100%. Could not agree with you more. But of course, the overwhelming majority of the MRP requests do actually come from the umpires as well. You're right, there are a small amount that come from the clubs, but the umpires do a pretty good job in, when they see something, they can just sort of say, hey, go back at the tape, look at that. In terms of the reports, last year, 2018, throughout the whole season, there were 7 reports for engaging in rough contact, which is, I guess, a bit of a broad description of it all, but the overwhelming majority of those were for dangerous tackles. Shirt fronts obviously fall into that category as well. In 2019, that 7's jumped up to 30 so far this season. And again, the overwhelming majority of them have been for dangerous tackles. Not all of them have been, suspendable offences, but just brought to the MRP and the tribunal's attention that they've been assessed. So
it's a 300% increase, which is a lot. Doesn't matter what way you look at it. So I think that will flatten out as players will get better at it. Coaches next pre-season will adjust.
Yep.
They'll train. They'll spend more time training. So eventually you'll find next year it'll trend down again and probably get to a mark which is around that 10 to 15 mark, which is probably about right in most comps.
Yep, for sure. But at the end of the day, the MRP, it's doing its best to do its job, and that is to protect the players and provide a safe environment for people to be able to compete, which is what you want.
We're in a Greenswell.
That's
Often not the case, but we are.
That's unusual.
At this stage of the show anyway.
Very good. Now, here's something we can all agree on. The Swivs Locker Division 1 Team of the Week. I'll tell you what, I'm getting better at these segues. It's something about a little bit of Robbo brushing off on me, I think. Swivs Locker Division 1 Team of the Week. We've tipped a bit of effort into this, as we do each and every week. Why don't you kick us off from the back line? Who's made it?
All right, we've got Torrin Bonnet. Played really well again on the weekend. I've watched most of that game, played really well. Sam Hayes, I witnessed him at Cheltenham against Morty Alec. Especially in the first quarter when Morty was kicking with the wind, he was absolutely outstanding. And my old mate Nick Barry from East Malvern gets a run in the other back pocket.
Absolute star. And of course on the half-back line, Aaron Purvis from St Kilda City had a pretty good game on the weekend. Alex Spencer from St Paul's. Geez, he's one of the most consistent players in the back line. There's always at least either him or Will Clark in that back six. They do a very good job for St Paul's. And Tommy Brown from Hyde, he's been super consistent all year, as he's lost a few players around him through injuries and what have you, but he keeps on having a dip each and every week, so good on you, Tommy.
Yeah, centre line Aaron Kneebone really stood up for Morty Alec in the tough conditions out at Cheltenham. Danny Aids again. I actually just got off the phone to Danny as I was driving down here, and he played really well again for Dingley. And Drew Kelly, who his first quarter was scintillating for Cheltenham on Saturday and really carried them a long way into the game. Looks like he's back on top of the ground, coming back from an ankle injury. Absolutely,
and a good to have him back in the side and playing good footy for Cheltenham. On the half-forward line, Jimmy Ziller kicked 5 goals on the weekend. What an absolutely outstanding performance. An absolute star, that young fella. Sean McLaren from Cheltenham at centre half-forward. Spent a bit of time in the ruck, kicked 3 goals as well, so he's starting to hit some form at the right time. And young Rory Goldsmith from Dingley, been very impressed with him since he's had a bit of a run in the season. He's kicked a couple of goals, rotating between the midfield and half-forward line. He's going to be a player to watch in coming years. And actually, Dingley have got a few of them.
They've got some kids, absolutely. Them and Cheld are definitely promoting their kids this year, which is great. Forward line, I knew I'd get this fella. Joseph Colacello, I think you pronounce it. But
spot
well
on,
done.
Lockers.
Colacello, well done. Ed Green again. I think he kicked another 4 goals for St Kilda City. And Ahmet Kandaji, so that's Cyril's brother, isn't it? Number
Kandaki,
28, I think he wears. Good player, beautiful left-foot kick of the footy.
So Kandaki and I think Colacello kicked 3 goals each. So fair few goals coming from that forward line, which is great. Chris Carey in the ruck is pretty much a lock for that position at the moment. Our man Chris Horton-Milne from Dingley, just in some great form at the moment. And Liam Sumner from East Malvern just continues to get his... get the job done.
Yeah, kicked a really important goal in the last quarter, Liam Sumner, to bring them back in the game and within striking distance. Interchange bench, Malcolm Newand, I think it's his 3rd game back from Collegians footy. Matty Troutbeck playing some great footy. Great to see Matty Troutbeck. Had his injury issues probably over the last 2 to 3 seasons, to be honest, but he is, when fit and firing, one of the best players in the competition. So
absolute star.
Well done to Matty Troutbeck, and a ripping fella at that. Tyler Jones, Port Colts, number 15, very good halfback flanker. And this is my man.
Your man?
Jake Hibbard, number 74. I'm not a fan of the number he wears, but anyway, you wear what you want, I suppose. It doesn't matter. Kicked a fantastic goal in the first quarter, 55 out into the wind. Punched it low. Done his time in the 2s at Chelt, but played really, really well on the weekend. So well done to you, Jake.
Fantastic, and good to see an even representation of all clubs in there, which has been great. It was one of those rounds where there weren't too many, there were plenty of close games and plenty of good performers, very even performances across the board. So fantastic and well done to those guys that got picked. Of course, we, as we said off the top, we had a bit of a look at the ladder and the run home, Lockers, and we've come up with a little bit of a predictor for how it's going to pan out in round 18. So kick it off with yours. Who have you got?
I've got Chelt finishing on top, 56 points with a percentage of 137, followed by St Paul's on 52. East Malvern, courtesy of the draw, on 50 points in 3rd spot, just ahead of Dingley on 46. And then in that 5th position, the way I've done it, I didn't look, didn't cheat, I just picked the teams I thought would win. I've got Bentley finishing in 5th spot, which, to be honest, probably surprised me a little bit. And if I was not going to do that ladder predictor, Will, I probably wouldn't have them there. But that's how it ended up. Port Colts just missing out, along with St Kilda City and Morty Alec in 8th position on 32. So I'm not going to Morty this week. I'll be banned again and in trouble. So yeah, that's my top 8 with Hyde and Oakley in 9th and 10th spot.
Interestingly, there's a few similarities with the one I've done, and I've done the same thing as you in terms of going through who I thought would win those games. And there's a few very interesting games coming up. We'll touch on those in just a minute. That could really go either way, and will
100%.
decide who plays final. So
100%.
I've also got Cheltenham on top, 15 wins, percentage of 145. St Paul's second, East Malvern third. On percentage ahead of Dingley, so 135 there to 126. And I've actually got the Colts in 5th position. I've got them winning 2 of their next 4. And an interesting game coming up in round 18. Morty Alec in 6th position. They play each other in the last round. That will decide who plays it. And percentage ahead of those. I've got them level on points, 104 and 101%. St Kilda City in 7th. Bentley in 8th position, which is remarkable because if you look at both of our ladders, both sides that sit in 8th position have won 8 games for the year. When was the last time you saw that?
No, it shows how close it is this year, doesn't it, Will? So, yeah,
8
fantastic.
8 wins would normally get you into the finals or very close to it. So that's a remarkable. And of course, Hyatt and Oakley District haven't picked them to win any of their future games, unfortunately, so they remain unchanged at the bottom of the ladder.
I'll say one thing, and obviously I haven't predicted it, so I'm going against what I said. Hyatt or Oakley will win one game between them before the end of the year. I'm just not sure who or where, but I think they will.
Oh, mate, there's been upsets throughout the year, so that's almost a given, but hard to pick when we're just doing the ladder predictor. So you've got to base it on form, and as we said, so many things can change in the next 5 or 6 weeks. So
Correct.
Be an interesting run home. Some key games to look at. St Paul's have got a difficult sort of next month coming up.
They have. If they finish in 1 or 2 spot at the end of the year, they definitely they're definitely going to be favourites for the flag or one of the teams to beat. So they've got a tough run home. They would have seen that at the start of the year, so they would have set themselves accordingly. So, yeah, tough run though, so we'll see where they're at over the next month for sure. Of
course, East Malvern away. They've got Cheltenham and they've got Dingley as well. So that'll be a real tough run there. An interesting game, some East Malvern and Cheltenham. Round 16, depending on the way that one falls, East Malvern will either finish 2nd or 3rd, depending on. Bentley, Morty Alec in round 15 is also a big one. But the last 2 rounds are probably where the 2 biggest games are in terms of the finals chances, with so many sides in the mix. Morty Alec versus St Kilda City, round 17 at Morty Alec. And Port Melbourne Colts and Morty Alec at JL Murphy. And that, for me, will decide who plays finals. Morty win that game, they're in. Colts win that, they're in. And, of course, they get Della Libra back for that game.
Absolutely.
Which will be...
Round 15, I think Morty, especially when you look at these games, Morty Alec play a key role in them, whether they're going to make finals or not. Bentley, they have a terrible record at Bentley, Will. St Kilda City absolutely smashed Morty Alec last year at Morty Alec. They really enjoyed the big ground out there, so that's a really interesting one for me. And then Port Colts at Port Colts is always a hard ass. So yeah, Morty Alec, as I've said, I think I've got them finishing a little bit lower than you. You've got them very close. What I saw Saturday is if they can put their best footy together, they can still play finals. There's no doubt. The problem is the delta between their best and not so best varies too much within the game at the moment. So yeah, if they can turn that around in the coming weeks, which I'm sure Mick and the guys will address, they can still play finals, no doubt. So it's a fantastic position to be in, Will. You know, Southern Division 1. Close games, close finish of the year. We're not in agreement with where the ladder's going to be, so it's fantastic.
Oh, for sure. But if you look at those 7 games, each of those could go either way. It's a toss of the coin. Results go either way. We're looking at a completely different ladder lockers, and that's a beautiful thing about it. Any team can win on their day, as they say. Moving on to round 14, a massive weekend coming up. We'll have a look at the fixtures and tips. Brought to you, of course, by MelSafe. They're fantastic MelSafe auditing and compliance services. You need them done for your business, get in contact with them. St Kilda City versus Cheltenham, first game, straight off the top. What are your thoughts, mate?
Look, I saw Cheltenham firsthand Saturday. They were very good. I think they get Jack Worrell back this week, who went overseas. Not sure if Kelso, the ruckman's back, but in saying that, Kelso wouldn't have done any better than Sean McLaren on the weekend. He was outstanding in the ruck, took a heap of marks around the ground, pushed forward, kicked 3 goals. So, yeah, I think St Kilda City will be in the game for a long time, no doubt. But I just think Chelt at the moment are playing fantastic footy under Desi Ryan. I think they'll just get the chocolates in a close one.
I totally agree with you there. I think they're flying. They're top of the ladder for a reason. An interesting prospect, though. They get Kelso back, and McLaren spends more time forward with McTaggart. All of a sudden, that's a pretty potent forward line, especially with some of the small guys that can play wing, half forward, forward pocket as well, that can slide in there.
Absolutely. So, super dangerous, no doubt.
Absolutely. Port Melbourne Colts versus Oakley District. Colts, I think, probably too hard to beat at home.
Yes, apart from the news of just what happens at the tribunal. So I'll stick with Port Colts, but don't be surprised. I think Oakley, watching them a couple of weeks ago firsthand, are really going to enjoy the confined spaces. They're strong. Even look at some of the young guys like Jake Carousel, as a strong-bodied mid who gets in and under. So I actually think this game is an absolute danger game for Port Colts, especially with the ruckman being out. So I'll stick with Port Colts on their home deck, but don't be surprised if Oakley really serve it up to them.
I'm with you. I still think Port Colts will win, but Oakley will definitely make them earn it. East Malvern versus St Paul's, match of the round for mine. This is an absolute beauty.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's probably clearly match of the round. East Malvern have been in a few of them of recent times. Always close. I think last time they played, Mackenzie Bristow had a shot after the siren to win it for East Malvern. It missed just. So close. There'll be a couple of great matchups. You know, Liam Sumner, he's good mates with Kremborg, so they might run into each other during the game as well. So it'll be a really, really close game. Historically, they've always been pretty close. So I'd probably just say home deck, Chris Carey in Super 4, maybe East Malvern just. Yeah,
I'm thinking the same thing as well. I think East Malvern tough to beat on their home deck. If St Paul's can, they're a vastly different proposition on their wide ground at the Kennel. So purely home ground advantage for mine in that one. Morty Alec versus Hyatt. Morty Alec really need to get the skates on if they're to play finals footy. And if they are to play finals footy, this is one they don't drop.
Yeah, I think they win. Look, Hyatt have been fantastic this year in adversity. They've had a lot of injuries. Sammy Hecker's doing a fantastic job down there, just actually getting a side on the park that's competitive each week. So they'll be competitive again, but it's just there's no return for Morty Alec. They have to win, so they'll do everything they can to make sure they get the 4 points on Saturday.
Yep, no ifs, buts or maybes, must-win game. And Bentley versus Dingley. This will be an interesting one. I'm leaning more towards the Dingoes. They're starting to sort of reverse their form over the last couple of weeks. Probably too strong for Bentley, although I think Bentley play their ground pretty well and they might give them a little bit of a scare.
I actually don't know if Dingley have won there the last couple of times they've been there. I've got to try and get some beer money back from you, Will, so I'm actually going to just say Bentley because I need Bentley to win to get some money back off the big fella. So I'll go Bentley.
That'll be an interesting one. That I reckon that one could go either way, but we'll see how we go come Monday.
Absolutely.
Well, that's it for the show this week, Lockers. A fantastic show,
well
as
done.
always.
Yep, terrific.
Done well. Who needs Robbo?
No, who's Robbo?
Very well said. Of course, if you want to catch any of the action over the weekend, live scores, all the news, whatever's happening in the Southern Footy Netball League, download the GameFace app. I know you're on it, Lockers.
100%.
You're glued to it, so make sure you download it as well. It's free. Google Play or the App Store, whatever you use, Android, iPhone, whatever the kids use. Make sure you download it. It's the best thing you will do all week. Be a massive weekend of footy coming up, of course. Lockers, what are you up to over the weekend? Which one are you having a look at?
I'll probably go watch Morty Alec v Hyatt, just down the road, nice and close to home in this cold weather.
A couple of cool refreshments and that day should be fantastic. So make sure you get around the footy this weekend. It'll be an absolute cracker. We'll see you next week for another edition of the GameFace SFNL Division 1 Footy Show. Get your GameFace on.